Welcome back to Packernet. JJ Leahy, Ryan Schlip, and Jake Shavink in the house. We're going to be doing WOATs today. We're going to do a WOAT check-in. All right. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. If you can't figure out what WOAT is, WOAT, then I'm not sure how you managed to find your way onto a football live stream.
That's
all right.
True.
So,
should I jump off or?
You can't. It's the worst of all time. It's
okay,
the opposite of a goat.
Got it.
So it's the worst of all time, but actually, I think if this ends up being fun, then it could just be worst of all this week as one word. All right, and then we can kind of run it back each week.
Sure.
So for example, we're going to be talking about my favorite quarterback, Will Levis, and how he's the WOATest quarterback this week. But I also think that honorable mention goes to the tearing or spraining of Jordan Love's MCL. That's like a WOAT moment. But
That's true.
But Donald is coming in hot with the comment. He wants Jake to deliver on his movie review. Too old for this, remembers. He says, "Oh no, I forgot to finish Cocaine Bear."
Forgot to finish.
So, Jake, I have to ask you: did you complete your homework, and can you deliver us our dual film review of the Packer game and Cocaine Bear?
Honestly, it felt like I watched Cocaine Bear twice this week. Honestly, when I was watching Packers Eagles, I'm like, wow, this is very similar to what I just watched on Peacock. So I don't. There could be some similarities going on, but I think Cocaine Bear takes the cake with like over the top characters. It's got a very culty, gory Jurassic Park vibe to it. Essentially, I think it built the monster horror into like essentially ludicrous characters. That pretty much you kind of. I think there's a way that it, could gain like that type of following. I think it's everybody. It's like like Packers fans every year with a certain draft prospect. It's this insane following for months, and they keep up with it afterwards, right? And so that's where I think it can kind of.
Brian Burns.
Brian Burns is a good one.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing.
Burns might be too good.
It's kind of amazing that this overlying story of the Eagles game wasn't Cooper DeJean, with how the whole
that's the one.
Yeah, that works.
That's the one. JPJ and DeJean were probably the most recent ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, some very interesting moments. Some pretty interesting unalive moments. They had an ambulance chase scene that felt very much like it. That's what drew me to like, oh, it's very much like Jurassic Park. They're leaning into this so much.
Yeah.
With that type of thing. Did not expect a kid doing a cinnamon challenge with some of the stuff. So that was surprising. The honestly, like detectives and the kind of the Rangers are pretty much what you'd expect for kind of a Georgia. That's obviously where the movie is set. So it's funny because I wanted to look and like, okay, how much is this similar to actually what happened? And yes, it did happen, but there are no confirmed kind of deaths in this part. Huh. So I don't know. But yeah, they basically took on the horror cult Jurassic Park genre, and didn't love it, but there were definitely some like chuckle moments where kind of like, okay, they made these characters this specific way and it works. So would I watch it again? Well, I guess I said I did on Friday with the game, which pretty much had everything, right? From while the defense is making plays and they're creating turnovers, like this defense wanted to, and then offense is all over the place. We got injuries. The the mistakes made by all of the people in the movie, I think, were very similar to guys slipping on the field. That's kind of what it felt like. Like, oh, you did that, didn't you? So that's it. It very much was like, oh yeah, I'm kind of watching the movie on the field on Friday. So
Cocaine Bear
there you
might
go.
just be a good name for our defense. Like instead of D-Train, it's just Cocaine Bear.
that might,
Might be a little confusing when we play the Chicago Bears, but we got a couple good chats here. Donald asks, "Wait, did the Bear sprain his MCL at the end? That's what took him out." And Too Old for This says, "Donald, yes, it's actually the
soon.
story of the Aaron Rodgers my knee game. That's where the cocaine and the bear come from."
That's not bad. That's not bad.
We never did confirm exactly what drugs they gave Aaron so he could get through that game. I don't think cocaine would produce that effect, but maybe.
That was
Yeah,
the
we missed out on a
first
good
ayahuasca.
opportunity with that game where he hurt his knee, calling it the Cocaine Bear game.
Yeah,
5 years
that's a
before
good point.
Cocaine Bear was
That's a
made.
good, that's
Yeah.
a good point. But yeah, there you go. It's they had a guy as they listed him as bear performer, which I thought was interesting. They were like using aluminum limb extensions
Wow.
when they were doing the filming, so that was. It's just very much, yeah. Like I think in like 2037, some people will be like, "Oh, I have this," or like, "Oh, I saw this back then. Let's put this on. This is really, really something." So I think
It'll be like my dad when he turned on Strange Brew for me. Just this like really ridiculous cult classic thing from the 80s that he wants me to watch. It's a great movie, by the way. You should watch it if you haven't seen it.
it very much feels like it does a good job, because I think the thing actually happened in 85, so it does have the 80s
There you go.
feel to it as well.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I'm more interested in watching it now than I was when we told you to watch it.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, if you go in knowing like what it's gonna be, I think you're kind of like, oh yeah, okay, like
Just going with the
it's
lowest
very
possible expectations.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be kind of like, oh wow, yeah, this has somewhat of a cult classic thing written all over it.
This is part of why we assigned the movie to Jake in the first place, was so Ryan and I could decide if we wanted to waste our time with it.
That's
So
true.
now we know we do.
Yep.
I
think I'm
so.
in.
Maybe Jake is just getting back at us. And
That's
he's
true.
telling us that it's
It was
interesting.
really good. You should check it out.
I don't think interesting is the right word. I think as I said, it's very much a cult classic, kind of ludicrous character Jurassic Park, which with all the same kind of mistakes that the people make, right? And so,
Well, it sounds
I
like
think
you
works.
enjoyed your homework more than I enjoyed mine, because I was supposed to watch Shin Godzilla, and I did. And all right,
No.
in 2023, the Toho Japanese Godzilla studio made Godzilla -1, and that was a fantastic film. They figured out how to make movies sometime between Shin Godzilla and Godzilla -1. The biggest thing that was missing from Shin Godzilla was any kind of pacing. It was just constant action the entire way through, like constant conversation. So they made a decision at the beginning that the point of view of the movie was all going to be from like the government bureaucrats who have to respond to this Godzilla attack. And they're in like meetings and committees the entire movie long. And there's no change of pacing. It's just, oh, Prime Minister, we need to meet to discuss this Godzilla attack. Okay. Hello, I am the Prime Minister, and I've called you all here to discuss this attack. I think that you should go talk to the experts. Okay, we will. Hello, experts. We need you to tell us. And it was just like...
It's just a lot of people talking to people.
Yeah, that was just the entire movie.
Well, that's unfortunate.
So then
Hello, Jim. I'm supposed to talk to you.
we finally get to see
That's lame.
Godzilla, and I laughed out loud when I first saw it. It was like,
no.
first of all, his face looked like a fish.
Oh.
And then like the animation of it was just so bizarre. It looked like kind of like a puppet. And then he didn't have like front limbs. He only had back legs. He's like pushing himself along the ground on his chest with his big fish face and fish mouth flapping. So he does evolve throughout the course of the movie and turn it into more of like a normal looking Godzilla, but it was a little rough to watch. Ultimately,
All right.
I would just describe the movie as kind of boring.
Sounds like I'd rather watch Cocaine Bear.
I would rather have watched Cocaine Bear.
Yeah, I think he might. That's a good point. That is a good point there. I guess I might have the next assignment because Donald asked, "How does it compare to Sharknado?" And I haven't seen Sharknado. So
I kind of feel like we need to make Ryan watch Sharknado now.
Oh, come on.
I think we're good on the. I mean, it depends if you want the reviews to shift.
Got to leave it up to the people.
We're gonna make I've got an idea. We're gonna throw some comps out there. Cocaine Bear was a tough one to find a comp for, as far as like player or a team goes, but we'll get there. This is a good question, though. I laughed at this.
The Godzilla's RAS show up on the tape. So it was kind of weird watching him move sometimes because his speed was kind of inconsistent throughout the movie. And there were times when he was moving like a much smaller creature. And you kind of look at what his size was. And it's like, all right, for being that size, like you're not going to be moving that quickly. And if you were moving that quickly, your momentum would just be tremendous and it would like carry you into this building. And instead you're just, waving limbs around pretty quickly. So it was hard to judge. I would say his RAS is better than mine. About all I got.
Okay. The Bears RAS, it shows up on tape. The problem is there's a conditioning issue that you can't solve.
Even with cocaine?
Yeah, there's just, maybe with, then I think you've got something. But at the beginning, obviously, it's, regular bear for a few minutes, and it
I see.
Does fall kind of asleep on a person because they're all like not moving because it's a bear.
All right.
But yeah, maybe, so yeah,
is fall asleep code
pre-ingesting,
for like unalived?
then, huh?
Is fall asleep code for unalived?
No. He like fell asleep, landed on top of a guy who was like laying down on the ground, and they kind of had
Super
to wake
random.
him up. So it was a weird opening, but they got there.
I don't
It
want
was
to
a
watch it
very weird-
anymore.
It was a very weird opening, but So yeah, all right. Is the league going to suspend the bear though if you put him on the field? Probably. So probably the pre festivities for the bear is probably what's going to drag him down with evaluators.
All right. I think it's time to weigh in with some WOATs here.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with, this honestly could be its own weekly segment, but this is the Joe Douglas WOAT of the week. Quote from a high-ranking league source on the Hassan Reddick situation. Quote, either Joe Douglas did not do his due diligence.
I forgot about that. Thank
On
you.
fully understanding what Hassan Reddick's desires were, or someone reneged on a promise. But from where I'm sitting, based on the contractual situation Reddick was already in with Philly, it smells to me that Joe didn't ask all the questions he should have from everyone, or he got worked by Howie Roseman.
Probably a little of both.
Yeah, that's probably both. Yeah, that's true.
Oh, that's funny. That makes me so happy.
What can you say?
So now that you're happy, I'm going to make you sad. Here's another WOAT of the week.
Oh, no.
Here we go. Remember when he used to be a good guy?
Oh no!
Now he's gone full heel.
Oh no!
Oh, I know what you're doing.
I'm ready.
I know where this is going once it loads.
I've seen it from the other side, and let me tell you, it's contagious. Like when you're on the other sideline, you're trying not to.
You know what else is contagious? This fat L.
Because you see the whole stadium doing it, and it's contagious. So I'm really amped to just come out there and play in front of.
I just did the PackNet After Dark, and somebody called in saying they think we need to stop with the Darnold hate because he's officially legit. It's like, bro,
excited for Sunday.
wait until we see the 49ers before we start hyping that up because they played the
yeah.
Giants, bro.
Yeah, it's 1 week. And,
It's like that meme going around.
All Minnesota had to do was stop the pass rush. That's all they had to do. If they had that locked down, it was over. There was the secondary was not prepared for the Giants. It could be like a bad high-scoring game next week with Washington and New York. Like one of those bad ones where you're kind of like, what is happening? So, yeah, we got to see it a second time. But it would be really funny if they like almost push for postseason because the draft pick is bad. And they already thought this was a lost season. And maybe, there were already talks. Once McCarthy got heard of like, oh, we're going to get Hunter. Look out. Like, look at how good we could be with another, big-time player. It would just be really funny if they played themselves out of that position. But we'll see. It gets daunting for them after that Giant game. Like, until week 9 or 10. So, we'll see.
Agreed.
Ryan, do you want to do the Caleb Williams
JJ.
one?
We got so disgusted by that. We had to
do the which one?
We had to pivot.
Do you want to do a Caleb Williams WOAT?
I'm glad you just handed it to me. That's what I was going to do anyways. I mean,
get you involved in this week's live stream,
No, I appreciate that. It is bad timing because it looks like everything frozen. Is my camera frozen?
No.
Okay, good. You guys are all frozen, but that's all right. I guess my WOAT is Caleb. I don't know what else to add to that. I mean, you all saw it, I'm assuming. He played like garbage. It is funny seeing the exact same defenses for Caleb that we've been hearing for years, and it's like you don't even hear yourself, do you? Like, well, what do you expect him to do with that offensive line? Are we still doing this? Are we still doing this? It's just freaking hilarious. I mean, I understand some of them are saying it's 1 week. I get that. If you want to say it was a bad day, but it's 1 week, they found a way to win. Whatever, cool. But the excuses that are coming out after the entire offseason talking about you don't even know what's coming. You don't even know. Look how good he looks. And for him to come out and look like that was complete in fact, I'm almost happy that Darnold looked as good as he did. And as you pointed out, Justin Fields looked actually competent. Almost everybody was better than Caleb. So, it really, really just put the exclamation point on it. The only guy that might have been worse, I think, was Goff. I didn't really watch that game, but PFF had him like the lowest quarterback grade in the NFL right now. So that's a little sad, but whatever.
All his like completions to Jameson, and Jameson just ran away from everybody.
Yeah.
So, and he had a really bad pick over the middle, which I'm sure dragged the grade down quite a bit.
And of course,
those big
stupid frickin' Rams still couldn't find a way to win that game.
They were legitimately the Stafford Cup, that last pass before the Lions got the ball back. That they are a foot away. Stafford threw it a foot too far over Cup. They make that play, they win the game. It is over there.
Well, I was excited to note that Justin Fields was either tied or better than Caleb in every single stat. Here are the stats where they tied. They each had 2 sacks and 1 fumble. That's it. Everywhere else, he was better than Caleb.
That was a great pause because I was like, "What else? What else were they doing?"
He's got to read down his list here of all the things.
There you go.
That's it. So Justin Fields, 3 big-time throws, 0 turnover-worthy plays. Flip that for Caleb. Justin Fields, 73.9% completion. Caleb Williams, 48.3%. Justin Fields had twice as many yards. His passer rating was a 92. Caleb's was a 55. Justin had a 76 PFF grade. Caleb had a 49. Justin beat him in yards per attempt, beat him rushing. And the one quarterback in the league who, besides Goff, who might have had a worse day than Caleb was actually playing at the same game that Caleb was. Mr. Will Levis had a worse passer grade than Caleb Williams did. He had 29.9 passing grade. NFL
Great
passer
stuff.
rating of 52, which is a little bit better than Caleb's. He had 2 interceptions. At least Caleb didn't have any interceptions. And I just want to take this opportunity to remind everybody that grown adults don't pretend to drink mayonnaise for attention. Just want to put that out there.
Gotta give credit to Cam Hayward, who tweeted that night. Like, did that thing, you capture the video and you tweet it from yours, and he goes, "This is why he's falling in the draft." Like the video of him eating mayonnaise or putting it in the coffee. He's like, this kind of stuff will make you fall in the draft.
Yeah.
Looks like Hayward
and
should
he's
be a
terrible at
scout.
football.
Yeah, Hayward should be a scout. Like, what are...
I mean, Hayward's
That's going to be the
probably gonna
worst
go in the Hall
interception of
Fame.
the year. That's going to be
rough.
the worst interception of the year. Like, those
That
are
was
the
super
ones
rough.
that, like, you watched Carson Wentz do at the end of his Eagles tenure, where you're like, I can't believe what I'm watching. It brought me back to the 2, like, just horrendous turnovers Purdy had at Iowa State. One of them was a batted pass by Clemson at the line of scrimmage, and you thought, you know what if I bat this up in the air? And it gets picked, and it goes back for a pick 6. And then as he's getting tackled, he's like, well, I better throw the ball. He's getting sacked, and he throws it backwards. TCU goes, picks it up, runs it in. Like, there's just you don't get a lot of these every year. But you think that I can just, like, do that Brett Favre, like, kind of flick the ball out there to the boundary?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just, it was over right there. It's over.
I would love
Tennessee,
to know what was
start
going
looking.
on in his brain. Was he trying to get it out of bounds, or where did he think it was going to go? Because that went directly to the Chicago Bears defender.
I know.
It's like he made eye contact. I was
Spike
like,
it,
bro,
just spike
save
it.
the ball. Save the ball.
Yeah, it's like they were playing
going
keep up with a
down.
balloon.
Right. Yeah.
I gotta go you gotta take care of this.
It's not volleyball,
like-
bro.
You remember the original Lambeau leap, and Reggie like pitches the ball to Leroy, and then he keeps going. It's like Levis was trying to do that. Here you go, pitch it.
Yep.
It is ludicrous. I just don't imagine we're gonna see another pick that bad this year. However, Will Levis probably starts 16 more games, so you never know. But that, and I hand this.
That
I like to
number one
hand this.
overall pick isn't going to come to Tennessee all on its own. It needs some Will Levis help.
Yeah, it did. That's true. That's true. If they're trying to do that, well done. That was an elite tanking move that they did there.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to
Sunday.
We're going to fire Mike freaking Vrabel. We're going to cut everyone with talent on our team, and we're going to make Will Levis the starter.
It was not good. I hand out the award of the Carson Wentz nonsensical interception of the week. That was easy. Made my job easy this week because the award might get renamed after that. So we'll see. We'll see. He's got 16 more games to maybe have the award be his namesake on it. So
Anybody else have a WOAT they'd like to submit?
Oh, man. I feel like there's got to be several. I mean, we could do a Packers-specific WOAT if we wanted to.
Ooh, we
Otherwise,
should do
there's
that.
just lots of trash. Can we? I mean,
I have another Jet I want to trash, but I like the Packers woes because here's the thing: somebody needs to hold the Packers accountable, and I'd rather it be people who like the Packers rather than
right.
some freaking Vikings podcast. Yeah, Donald brings up a painful point. In the Willis revenge game, does Willis or Levis get benched first? I just want to say, I really hope that Malik Willis does not end up here on WOAT next week.
I know. I'm ready to start hyping him up and getting excited about it, but it's like, man, what are the odds Clifford's playing by halftime? You know what I mean?
I have this feeling that we're more likely. spoiler alert, I don't know if we're doing this at the end of the show. I have a feeling we were going to be talking about that the week after, not this next week. I just got this weird feeling this week.
Sure.
I'm sure we'll get to it.
I just like we've seen Clifford. Like we know he probably there's probably no reason to even put him on the field.
Other than familiarity, I agree. But familiarity could be a big deal, especially in the passing game. Right? I think he's at least thrown passes to these guys quite a bit more, but we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be an eventful Sunday either way.
Yep.
Too old.
Should be.
I know which of these was more of a WOAT moment: Nixon running out of the end zone or Jair running out of the end zone. I think we have to grade this based on hindsight and say, look, Nixon's move lost us our franchise quarterback, and Jair's move was immediately made up for on the very next play by Josh Jacobs. Like Jacobs got all that yardage back and more.
Yeah. People pointed it out perfectly. What corner is going down there?
Yeah, they do that all the time.
What number one corner is saying, I'm good?
Yeah.
Occasionally,
there's a player that makes a smart decision, but it's like, come on, bro. Why are you
doing the only corner one that I'd be like, he'd probably get down is maybe Surtain. I feel like Surtain's smart enough. I think everybody else is trying it no matter what. Yeah. They're like, this is my chance, man.
Yeah,
106-yard interception return. I gotta try this. Like,
yeah. And they all think they're like, well, he in his defense, he was a kick returner. I was going to say, they all think they're like great kick returners and everything else. He's probably just trying to get back to his glory days. Like, bro, I've done this before. From the end zone, I know how to do this.
He's thinking he's going to house it and be the hero who won the game.
Yeah. Yes, 100%. If whoever, the listeners or you guys have seen Deadpool and Wolverine 3, Gambit, I'm going to make a name for myself. That's exactly what the corners are thinking every time they pick off any pass. They're like, all right, it's my time. So,
yep.
Somebody else needs to read this.
What if play Clifford, but put our DBs out as wide receivers since he seems to have such good chemistry with the DBs?
Now that's interesting.
That's good, Donald. I like that.
I like it.
That's funny.
You're talking about players who are going to fight for yards after the catch. Those corners, anytime they catch the ball, they're thinking end zone every time.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no like, I'm Tyler Lockett, I'm going to get down on the ground, preserve by. No. I'm going to score. So, an interesting strategy. Donald, you should. It'd be great if LaFleur could take fan questions. That would be an incredible one. I wonder what he would say.
LaFleur just taking AMAs.
About to leave on the flight, AMA. That'd be legendary.
Anybody got a Packers WOAT?
No, but I've got a few of them.
Go ahead, Jake.
We have to call out the Cincinnati Bengals. This is inexcusable, guys. You guys cannot keep doing this week one every year. Stop doing this.
Yeah.
Well, they also
I don't understand.
No reason just sucked all last year, and there was just no reason for it, and so we kind of all pretend that they didn't.
Right.
But they did.
Well, James Jones just talked about that on whatever show he's on. He was like, we keep saying Joe Burrow is good at football, and he hasn't been good at football in 2 years. You just freaking lost to the New England Patriots. Like, other quarterbacks, and he makes a good point. Other quarterbacks, they make a mistake, and it's like, I don't know. How does Joe Burrow get a pass for 2 freaking years? Like, since he's been injured, and now he loses his wide receivers, and he looks like, Sam Darnold when he isn't current Viking Sam Darnold. And I don't know. I mean, how do you even argue with that? This is a team, the Patriots, where if you're not saying the Giants or a handful, I mean, it's got to be one of the worst teams in football. They have nothing. There's nothing that they have. How do you, as a team with supposed Super Bowl aspirations, and by the way, Jamar Chase is still on your team. It's not like you lost everybody. How do you not win? How do you? I don't understand. This is the easiest game you're going to play all year.
This is the thing, and it is very evident when you go rewatch this game. First off, they've put the stats out there. Burrow was not pressured very much in that game. And if you watch it, you think he was pressured all the time. The way he like
scrambling
felt in the
around.
pocket.
Yeah.
He looked so uncomfortable the entire game.
Yeah, that's not good. He's scared.
The eyes were dropping, and I'm wondering again. It was kind of like, I mean, Rodgers definitely had that on Monday night, where it was kind of like, okay, he's worried about pressure, right? And very fair, right? We're coming off an Achilles tear, right? It's a new offensive line. This is first game action. I understand that. That makes sense. It still wasn't good from Rodgers doing that. But supposedly Burrow's the healthiest he's been coming into a season. And we're out there, just pretending there's pressure, missing a lot of what was going on.
35 dropbacks, only 8 under pressure, according to PFF.
It felt like rewatching it that in his head he's under duress every play.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand that. The defense got shredded last year. We were talking about the Packers and explosive plays. Cincinnati was worse. And they came out and just got bludgeoned on the ground by the Patriots, who to be honest, they've got a lot of young players that are trying out at offensive line to see if they can stick and be starters long term. Like this is not a Steelers situation where it's like, oh, we don't have a good quarterback, but we're going to kind of use grit to get through these games. This team was pretty much considered almost a bye week for everybody they were going to be playing against this year. And you let them walk all over you basically in that game to just not have any offense. I mean, next year, guys, this is not advice. It's not advice for legality reasons. But man, whoever the Bengals play week 1 next year, I would be picking the other team. They consistently do this. They got bludgeoned by Cleveland last year to open the season. So I don't know what's going on. Honestly, I guess we shouldn't be surprised. Everybody was still questioning Zach Taylor even after they made that Super Bowl run. It was kind of like, I don't know about this guy.
Yeah, I've always been a Zach Taylor doubter.
You watch them get rid of Mixon, and he goes and does that, and your running game was, Zach Moss and Chase Brown. Like, come on, guys. Don't like what's going on there. The vibes are awful over there right now.
And the question of whether or not they should have taken Jamar Chase or Penei Sewell, as much as I feel like I lost that battle at one point because Jamar Chase was looking so good, now seeing that he may be broken after 2 years because of an injury and because of how terrified behind that offensive line he's been and how good Penei Sewell is, I think maybe I was right the whole time, and he would be much better off with Penei Sewell and not having all these injuries and not being scared behind the offensive line and whatever wide receiver and whoever else would be there not named Jamar Chase. He would be, if he's still the same guy from 2 years ago, who gives a crap who his wide receivers are? He's going to light up the NFL.
Yeah.
But now he might just be done. I don't know. It's been 2 years of him just seeming like he's too scared to play football.
And Sewell is easily the biggest engine behind their offense being good in Detroit. He's unbelievable, crushing, dominating offense for one reason: the offensive line bullies the crap out of everybody. And Jared freaking Goff, who was done, nobody wanted him. We laughed at the Lions for accepting him in the trade because we were like, "Why do you want just take an extra 3rd or 4th round pick instead of Goff? Like you're going to be."
100%.
Trying to draft a QB early anyways.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Woat is definitely Toby Flenderson.
That's a good call.
Is he wrong?
That's like the definition of Woat. Toby is Woat.
He is Woat. Yep. We can call it the Woat Award or the Toby Flenderson Award. They're interchangeable.
I got a Packers Woat.
But yeah, I mean, think about the lines in that draft alone.
Yeah.
So Jamar Chase, you had day 2 picks. You could have Penei Sewell and Amon-Ra St. Brown like the Lions did. You could have. That was on the table for you. Could have done it. Instead, you let the Lions do it. So I think that might have been the draft. They took Jackson Carman in the second round. Oh my gosh. Just
a lot of bad decisions.
It was not great. So
I'm nominating Kenny Clark for a Toby Award.
Okay.
So this was the 5th worst PFF grade of his career. It's only his 4th worst since early on in his rookie season. He had a 39.4 defensive grade. Despite the fact that he was pretty darn good in pass rush and no missed tackles. I mean, he only attempted 1 tackle and he made it. Had almost a 13% pressure rate. But pass rush was the only thing that he brought. And on the rewatch, I was screaming at my screen on these rushing plays where he doesn't even look at where the ball is, doesn't glance Saquon's way, and just takes off sprinting out of position after Jalen Hurts, who's holding nothing. And then we got Quay and Eric Wilson doing mop-up duty on Saquon Barkley. And where's Kenny? Like 30 yards away by the time Saquon's run up the middle. He's like sprinting as far away from the ball as he could. So I just if the Packers are going to improve at run defense, they're either going to have to convince Kenny Clark to care about run defense or
more
play
Edgerrin
somebody else
Cooper.
instead of
That's how you fix everything. More Edgerrin Cooper.
11 of them, actually.
I just went and watched
Coopers.
the rest of his snaps today, and it's like, this is impossible. The guy played like 10 snaps, and 8 of them were him making an impact, and 1 of them was him slipping. Like, that's impossible to be that
the first
good in a
play
game.
that I noticed him in the game. I saw him come on. I'm like 56. Oh, that's Coop.
Yeah.
Nice.
56 isn't. Oh,
And
yeah.
then
once you
bam,
saw
made
him
a
in,
play
it's just-
immediately.
Yeah, that's it. That's
I
right, because
know.
he made that first
Look-
play, and I was like, oh, that's Cooper. And then it was, there he is again, there he is again, there he is again.
Yeah.
And then they're like, all right, that's enough, Cooper.
Yeah, let's take him out of here.
Is Edgerrin Cooper the new Aaron Jones? Where it's like, why is he not on the field, coach?
Yeah, right.
What's going on?
To be
Every
fair,
week.
I think Matt LaFleur said we're going to see a lot more of him. I don't think he had a lot of plans of being in. He didn't even play till midway through the second quarter. He was just special teams until then. They let him go in, and then I think they were like, try that again, see how that goes. And then I have a feeling next week he will be, especially as bad as McDuffie played. I have a feeling Edgerrin's going to be in a lot.
Yeah, McDuffie was like shockingly horrible.
Yeah, it was rough.
I was so close to being right when So Turtles asked last week how many snaps. I thought 13 to 18. We only got 11.
There you go.
But 11 was clearly too few.
Yeah, that was.
So we got 11 plays or 11 snaps that he was in, but then Coop made 13 plays on 11 snaps.
That's what it is. Yes, that's true.
Brambo wants to know, did we watch Jair yet? I thought that Jair,
I did not.
like
I
a lot
watched
of people on
Bullard
the team,
and
was
Edgerrin.
just super up and down. Like he was
Yes.
fine at times.
That's what I think.
Had a couple really crappy plays, had a couple really fantastic plays. That's just kind of how the whole team was. Like other than Zach Tom and Xavier McKinney and Jaden Reed
Edgerrin Cooper.
and Edgerrin Cooper. Okay, you got those 4 players.
That's it.
And honestly, like Keyshawn was pretty freaking solid. Like this is about peak Keyshawn on defense. He doesn't get much better than that. So you got those 5 guys. Everybody else was like wildly fluctuating from the beginning of the game to the end of the game. Like no consistency. And I mean, even like Jordan was pretty darn good for 3 quarters of the game, and then the third quarter, his brain just fell out the back of his head onto the field. And then he eventually picked it back up and put it back in and started playing great again. But like that was everybody. The whole team was just randomly would play like crap for a quarter or a half and then figure it out.
That's why it's hard to
Or
come down
they're
hard on
good and fall
anybody.
apart.
Like, I would feel like we did this WOAT thing, and I'm thinking about it. I have one, by the way, and I'm like, it's hard to come down on anybody because everybody like was pretty good, but they also like shared that like period where they sucked, and then for whatever reason, it never really came together, and it looked pretty ugly for a while. But even like you go back and it's like, oh, we got killed on the ground. No, we didn't. Like they had like 3.5 yards per carry. Did you see Jaden's PFF grades? Lowest PFF grade of his entire career against the Packers defense. He ran for nothing. He had a 29 PFF grade.
Yeah.
He was kind of awful. So it's it's hard to put it together because, huh? Oh,
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen, not Jaden. Jalen Hurts.
I thought you meant Jaden Reed for a second.
No. I
was
think
bad.
there's too many similar names. But it's like, because again, we all were like, oh man, Saquon tore us up. And it's like, not really. He had a couple big runs, but he had 4.5 yards per carry. He had a 60 PFF. Like, it was nothing special.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts had the worst game of his entire career. Like, so it's hard to be super mad because there was a lot of good things that happened. And, like, even Bullard, like, man, there's oh, Brambo, you bastard. He knows. Even Bullard, like, he had some real rough, like, there were 2 plays where it's like, oh, that's freaking ugly. But the rest of it, I thought he looked good. I didn't really have any complaints other than those 2. Even one of the bad plays of the 3, I'm like, I'm not really blaming him for that. Yeah. He had 2 that were pretty rough. One was just he tried to hit the guy, and one of those big beefy wide receivers ran right through him. The only that was like, there's no excuse for that was the one Jair touchdown where he's the safety and just goes screaming off the screen for some reason. Like, the heck are you going? Like, I don't know. He just was hoping the guy wouldn't catch it and he was going to get a pick or something. He never even considered maybe he catches it and I'm in a lot of trouble here.
One thing with this game that was interesting to me, like I was getting really excited that they kept sticking with the ground game and like kept handing the ball off to Josh Jacobs, despite the fact that like he looked like dog crap for the first like half of the game, or even like 2.5 quarters.
Again, very much the same as it's kind of the pattern. Yeah.
Right.
And so I'm looking at him like they put Emmanuel Wilson in, and he immediately like he's going for like 13 yards per carry for like 7 straight carries. And I'm like, geez, like what's going on? Like, is Emmanuel Wilson just a better running back than Josh Jacobs, or does the defense just not respect him? Like, what's going on? And they kept handing it off to Josh Jacobs, and then he got going, and he's rumbling, and he's looking like Josh Jacobs. Although I did think he looked smaller in a Packers uniform than he did in the Raiders uniform, but I don't know.
I think it's the number.
It might be.
I think
it's a slimming number.
Yeah.
Although
I do think that is the case.
A lot of vertical lines.
When he looks slimmer at Alabama when you watch because he's wearing single digits.
Oh, that's
then
funny.
he put the Raiders jersey on, and you're like, oh, okay, because you got a 2 out there in the front. I honestly think that is what it is. Yeah. Honestly.
And it was kind of the reverse for Josh Jacobs too, because obviously a lot of it's just pessimism because we lost. But people are like, oh, I guess we got the same 2022 or 2023 Josh Jacobs again, and it's like what did he end with? He ended with a pretty good average. He had a really good day. You look at like how many missed tackles he forced. You look at yards after contact. Yeah. I think he had a pretty fantastic day. But
yeah, 16 for 87. I mean that's almost 5.5. So
yeah. Right. I mean, how could you be mad at 5.5? That's Aaron Jones. That's what he gave us. He had
3.5 per carry after contact, forced 4 missed tackles. He had 2 long explosive runs of 10 or more yards. His longest run was 32 yards.
And those forced missed tackles are what like Jones and those guys would never give us. That was the one thing they were always really lacking in. Week 1, like the main broken tackle guy comes over to Green Bay, and already he's got 4.
Also breakaway percentage, small sample size, I know, but it was 62%. So it's not going to stay that high. But for a single game, like that's we will take
our favorite
that.
Stat, elusiveness rating 76.
Yeah, baby. Hilariously, isn't Jaden Reed have like a 900 or something? It's something super stupid.
Ooh, now I want to know.
All right, let's see. Jaden Reed is elusiveness rating 960.
Give that guy the ball every time.
That grade is the fakest grade in the world. It's so funny.
It's the best.
Like you get a 2, you get a 90, you get an 84, you get a 921. Like, what are we talking
about? Like a 1 snap sample size, but I gotta say that was the coolest run. Like go back and rewatching that, and just the missed tackles he forces. It's just like,
Yeah.
oh, wait, rewind it, give it to me again. Oh, chills. Yeah.
I'm gonna find our elusiveness college football top one now.
Yeah, dude.
You got
Who
me.
was that?
Oh,
Is it still Genty?
I mean, if you take snap counts away, yes, but there's one that's 3,525 right now.
Come on.
That's 3,525 is the top elusive rating at the moment.
3,525.
It is Victor Dawson from Cincinnati.
What did he do?
He has 2 carries and he's forced 3 missed tackles on 2 carries.
Okay.
And he has 2 carries for 49 yards.
All right.
I mean, that's cool. I've never even heard of Victor Dawson, and I like somewhat follow Cincinnati.
Yeah. So there's another one that's 1,500. But I mean, Ashton Janty's is 255 for the amount of yards he has, and he has 6 yards after contact per attempt.
So I put a snap count of 20 on here
Don't
just to kind of
let the Lions get him.
just to kind of give us a little bit of something real. And Ashton Genty is number 2 in the nation through 2 weeks with an elusiveness rating of 255.
Yep.
He's just behind he's behind Anthony Tyus III from Ohio,
Yes.
who has a 340 on 33 carries.
Yeah, 12 less.
But Genty has a higher yards per attempt and 3 times as many touchdowns.
Yeah.
Genty's my dude, man.
Genty might be just the Malik Neighbors of this draft, and that's fine.
We're here for
that.
fine.
We're here for that.
Genty is RB1. I'm saying it right now. I'm not going to back off it all year.
I'll double down. He's player 1. Okay,
Gotta start
he's
changing the
player
names
1
now.
Who is the running back who we were like really wanted to draft super early a couple years? Oh, Bijan. It was Bijan, yeah.
Yeah,
Sure. Yeah.
Has Bijan lived up to his draft position?
I don't think so.
He had a pretty
They're-
good week this week.
They're,
but
they're,
I think
I feel like he's a good volume guy. Like he gets the ball a lot. He gives them a lot of yards. Like he's really good in fantasy football and whatnot. But I don't know that it's like he's Adrian Peterson or whatever.
no, I would agree.
Oh, Donald brings up a good point. Actually, I don't think I heard this podcast, but Jacobs would have looked better if Ryan didn't help out Saquon by calling him out. I'm assuming that you called Saquon crap, which I have always been doing.
Well, yeah. I mean, I just pointed
the thing.
out that Josh Jacobs is better than Saquon and has been his entire career. That's all.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
I also fueled the fire. I would like to apologize as well.
That's our fault, I guess.
And
And again, he didn't have an elite game against us. That's a
No.
complete falsehood.
no, but
They love the release out of the B gap that he caught for a touchdown, which is entirely a great design against what Green Bay
Yeah.
had. And so like
for
He had the
some
stats.
reason,
He had the touchdowns. I get it.
the touchdown.
Saquon's stats against the Packers are always out of this world, and it's so frustrating because
true.
Yeah.
he's not that good.
Right.
But against the
We-
Packers, he turns
How many times-
into Superman.
How many times have we had to hear people
Terminator.
breaking records against the Green Bay Packers? Like this is the highest for this player, or this is the highest this team has ever done, or it's just how it goes, man.
Yeah.
Well, I saw a stat that since Matt LaFleur got here in 2019, the Packers have ranked 32nd in defensive run EPA, which I can believe.
We're gonna try for 33rd next year. It's not good. Yeah, it's. I mean,
Rev
I
Trev,
found
how
it.
come
I
we
said
can't
I
stop
found
the
it.
run? It feels like it's
Oh,
been decades where
that's
this
a
has
good
been an
question.
issue. It's been an issue like for basically my life.
Yeah. Again, though, to be fair, I mean, so 144 yards is a lot, but they also ran the ball a crap ton. So if you look at it as a per carry metric, the Packers ranked 10th in yards per play at 3.8 or whatever it is. 10th best run defense. Again,
Yeah,
cumulative
plus-
yards, yes, but I mean, if a team runs 30 times against you compared to somebody else running 20, it's going to make a difference. So
Yeah.
I don't think it was as bad as it felt watching it happen, especially since at the end of the game, it really started breaking open. So, but the only reason why it wasn't so bad is because at the beginning of the game, they couldn't do anything on the ground.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, Ryan. Like the ability to contain the QB run game and also
it's
contain
crazy.
any of the scrambles
Right.
that Hurts was getting out to when he starts rolling right. Like I know we kind of talked about Kenny Clark, but Clark and Gary were like the guys that were like, we need to get out there like late in this rush to prevent the scramble, and I think they did, and that's like the big positive because how many times have we come out here and discussed that where it's just like, man, the QB run game just destroys this defense, and like there's just they can't. I mean, look at the Eagles game 2 years ago they played, right? Jalen Hurts was just running up and down the field.
13 attempts, 33 yards, 2.5 yards per carry for Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
You chalk that up as a win every time. Like that.
You look at here's the rest of some of these stats from NFL Pro. Rush yards over expected -5. Rush EPA -7.6.
Wow.
He didn't do jack.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah.
That is big. What did Hurts do?
Since we're on the topic of EPA, I think Will Levis had like a -28 EPA. Just throw that out there.
Yeah, so put this
Could look
out
that
there.
up too.
Against Green Bay 2 years ago, how many carries did you say Hurts had in this one, Ryan?
13.
13? Okay. So Hurts had 17 carries in the game 2 years ago for 157 yards.
Yes.
It's good for 9 yards a carry.
Yeah. I think we fixed that.
When the ball was actually in Jalen Hurts' hand, Kenny was fantastic. That's the only thing he cared about was Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a massive improvement, and that's good news for a team that is now about to play Anthony Richardson.
Well, that's the other thing. And one of the other things I pointed out too, I don't know if it was on the stream or on the podcast, but he was really impressive when it comes to we got a pressure on Jalen in 1.5 seconds, and somehow he still got the ball out to somebody.
Yeah.
His ability to do that numerous times was shocking because, so many times with like Barry, we'd bring extra defenders and they just get stuck. I felt like we brought extra defenders and they got home regularly, and I was excited about it. And every time, it didn't matter because he got the ball out. It's like, dang it, he was right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, you start getting guys. And Anthony Richardson, he's obviously mobile and whatnot. But let's say Will Levis or even Caleb or some of these Goff, these other guys that are not going to be able to take off like that, or like Jalen, be able to identify the open man instantly. I think this defense could do some serious damage.
Yeah, I'd like to see them blitzing a little bit less because they were still having a pretty decent success just rushing 4 guys, and I felt like every time they were blitzing, I kind of just would rather have had an extra guy in coverage because Jalen was getting the ball out so lightning quick. I don't know that Anthony Richardson is going to get the ball out that quick, so blitzing Anthony might be a better strategy than blitzing Jalen. But I think, one thing that we were talking about going to this game is that the Buccaneers eliminated the Eagles last year, and they blitzed him on like 65% of snaps.
Yep. Yeah, like it was very clear that like cover 0 was potentially, or even just again bringing extra defenders on the blitz was going to be a potential strategy for Green Bay in that game. And yeah, I think, as you mentioned, I think Richardson's process is going to be a little bit slower.
Sure.
Against the blitz than Hurts.
Because Hurts, he's a good quarterback,
right.
and Richardson he's athletic, he's got a cannon for an arm, but he's not well regarded for his processor.
He's not precise yet.
Yeah.
And he's played, what is this? It was Sunday's 6th or 7th game. After only starting 13 at Florida. So it's probably going to be a longer process there. And you get him, if he is going to be really, really good, you're getting him, I think, before that leap happens. If something clicks later in the year, right? Kind of like it did maybe with Jordan last year. Probably not to that degree. But you're catching, this Colts offense in kind of working out their process early in the season, which I think is a good thing as well.
Yeah, and if he turns it on, then he'll be the AFC's problem.
Right.
Yeah, JJ,
exactly.
it's since I have it up here, negative 21.9 according to NFL EPA for Will Levis.
He's the WOAT, the will of the.
He is let's see who is the WOAT. Is he the WOAT?
Will Levis-ist of all time.
Let me see. Let's check the WOAT for EPA quarterbacks. They're giving it to Bo Nix.
Yeah, he was bad.
Oh. Negative 23.
That's what happens. That's what happens when you're 2 of 12 beyond 10 yards and 2 picks, and your ADOT's like 3.
By the way, we talked about Joe Burrow and how he needs some more scrutiny. He was 27th behind Caleb Williams. That's crazy.
It was honestly as bad as it could be. You think you're like, oh, it's bad. Like you go watch, you're like, yeah, no, it's even worse. It was, and so PFF had the true pass block grades from week 1. Cincinnati was 21st, and they had one of the higher like center pass blocking grades in true pass sets. Like that should be like the interior pressure should have been pretty limited for Burrow.
Yeah.
Who isn't the most mobile guy, and you still have kind of that look down to pressure, which, again, they had a higher average than Green Bay did. Who played better this past week, right? So it's just really, really, really strange stuff. And by the way, Stroud's Texans were below the Bengals as well in terms of that.
Really?
Yeah, they were lower. The tackles kind of dragged them down a little bit, but their average true pass set grade being, 4 spots lower than Cincinnati. That's not good.
Yep.
The Jets were lower. The Chiefs were lower. The Jaguars were lower. Right, like all teams where you go like, yeah, Lawrence played, and the Rams were dead last, obviously, because they had like 9 guys play. And I don't think anybody would argue that Burrow came anywhere close to Stafford in terms of play last week. So. The excuses are gone. What are we doing?
Top quarterback in EPA by a mile, Baker Mayfield.
There it is.
289 and 4 tuds, man.
I love it.
It's been so gratifying watching Baker just shred into.
I
wish
agree.
That he was
man.
in the AFC.
Oh, it's great.
But
Yeah.
it's delicious.
I feel like the guy got a lot of hate that I don't understand.
Cleveland
like, bro,
deserves this.
like he had that window where he went to a different team who was really bad, and everyone pretended he's always been that bad. Yeah, he went to Carolina and was terrible, and everyone pretended this is how he's always been. It's like, bro, when he was in Cleveland, I understand it tapered off a little bit. He was actually a really good quarterback. So yeah, he's in Tampa just shredding now, and people are like, whoa, what's this? It's freaking Baker, dude. It's the same guy. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, because he got signed off the street and played for the Rams and won the game.
Right. Yeah.
It was like, okay, I gotta get into this. Playbook stuff, and they went and won with Baker at QB. And I think the question with Baker was going to be, did Canales do a lot of the driving for him, giving him some things that were helpful to him? And I'm sure he did, but it clearly helped the confidence out because Canales is not there. And I know it was Washington, but boy, that offense looked really good with Baker.
Side note: the
running this show.
Panthers need to stop going after Heisman winners at quarterback.
That's probably true.
It's not panning out for them.
That's probably true.
But
I think that's what happens when you just suck at your job of scouting, and you're like, I mean, he won the Heisman. He's got to be the best one, right? That's just. I feel like that's how that works.
But the Baker success in Tampa is really just a awesome opportunity to crap on the Browns for
100%.
moving on from him.
For sure.
And
they earned this.
Yes.
I've had a couple other votes saved up, but I think this is the most important one.
Oh.
All right, the Browns signed Kadarius Toney. They are pairing the man who can't catch with the man who can't throw. And I think my favorite thing that I saw all week was Barstool Big Cat talking about just how bad Deshaun Watson has been playing football. He said Deshaun Watson is so bad at football now that he might actually be a better person than football player.
Jeez, that's whoa. I don't think so, but wow, that it makes you think. Also,
Jake, is
to
Deshaun
pile
a better person or a better football player?
No, he's in the NFL. He's in the NFL, so he has to be a better football player. There's just I'm not going down that road. There will never be that.
Kadarius Toney's freaking face right here, and you're telling me that being in the NFL is proof that you're good at football.
I mean, you have to be at least decently good to get there. There's no way I'm gonna go there. There's no way.
There's no chance. Any of this.
There's no chance I'm gonna say he's a worse football player with all that we know. No, it's not close to me.
Donald asks, "What's worse, Watson's play or Tony's rap game?"
Oh,
I feel like
also
all the worst players in the league have also been rappers. Like they are bad at football first, and then decide on the side to become rappers. Darren Waller had a better rap career than
not going to be a good football player.
Yeah.
What, Ryan?
You know,
I'm just saying if a guy has a rap career, don't draft him. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Also have to point this out. Average true pass sack grade across the board. Cleveland and Tampa Bay were even. And how'd that go with the quarterback play?
Well, one team has a quarterback and one doesn't. So,
by the way, can I just throw this out? I haven't talked about how much I like this guy in a long time. John Dorsey. I've talked him up a lot over the years. John Dorsey's the guy that drafted Mahomes. Mm-hmm. Cleveland was lucky enough to be able to acquire John Dorsey. He drafted Baker, who is a very good quarterback.
Yep.
He actually built a team that didn't suck for the first time ever. They got rid of Baker and John Dorsey, and look what happened. Dorsey goes to the Lions. The Lions look good, and look at Cleveland. It's the biggest freaking disaster ever, and that's saying something for Cleveland. So, and I don't know. I don't know how you can have something so good and just be like, nah, I don't like it. I want something else.
I mean, clearly John Dorsey, to get fired by the Chiefs and the Browns and then not be able to get another job as a GM, clearly has to be the most insufferable human being on the planet.
He has to be. He's got seriously bad gas or something. Like, I can't be around this guy. Like, I don't know what the problem is.
Just
you know where he's been recently.
Work from home, and we will have a different person. His name is Russ Ball, and he's going to handle all of the talking to coaches and players. We don't ever want you to interact with anybody. You just sit in your home office and figure out who we're going to draft.
You know where Dorsey's been the last couple of drafts in the draft?
Detroit.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Look at what Detroit's become.
That's strange.
Go figure.
Is there a conclusion to be drawn? I don't know.
I mean, if nobody wants him, can we just bring him back?
I agree.
You know?
No, I mean, if the day that he got hired by the Detroit Lions as some, senior executive, Ryan and I were texting about it. We were just like, "Oh, please no!" Like,
right?
Just, like,
so now the guy that got Mahomes and then got Baker is now going to be in charge of figuring out who their future. Fortunately, they went the Goff route, who's been good. Don't get me wrong; it was a seemingly a good decision. Yeah. I'm just glad this guy's not sitting there trying to figure out who the future quarterback is. I don't need him finding the Lions the next Mahomes. I don't need that. So please sign Goff to a 50-year contract.
Yeah. I was ecstatic when they signed Goff to that new deal because look, sure, he's played well enough to beat us a couple times. Like, I think that's a little more on the Packers and how they played than the Lions. Yeah. But like, we know what Goff's ceiling is. I can live with that.
He's the Cousins. He's one of those guys. It's like he's good. He can beat you, and it's like, you jerk or whatever. He's not. He's beatable every single time if you play your best game.
Yeah. I mean, we're already in a situation here where we are hoping that Caleb Williams busts out and doesn't become what everybody said he was going to be, and we're hoping that the Vikings will ruin JJ McCarthy instead of letting him sit for 2 years, which they look like they're going to do. Which
he sat himself this time.
That's right. The Vikings dodged a bullet by JJ benching himself.
Oh, with the injury, you mean?
The injury, yeah.
That's what I meant.
Were they going to play him? I didn't think they were.
Eventually, I think they will.
I mean, who
Probably
knows
not
what
to
they were going to
start.
do, but I just felt like Darnold was going to play poorly, and by midseason, everyone's going to be screaming. Were they going to be able to withstand that and say, no, we're not going to play him?
Yeah. Well, I think the schedule is going to play a part into it, right? They've got, what is it? It's like the Jets, the Niners. What else? I mean, obviously Green Bay, which we'll see.
Yeah, I think
see where
Rev
that
Trev is
goes.
right, too. Everyone equates Mayfield with Johnny Manziel, and Mayfield is actually a legit quarterback. I think that's right. People have always felt like Mayfield is another Manziel.
Yeah. So the Vikings, after this Giants game, Niners, Texans, Packers, Jets, Lions, Rams, Colts, Jags through week 10.
Wait, is there a win in there? Did I miss one?
Yeah, exactly. That was the thing. It was kind
That's
of like
brutal.
the first time I looked over their schedule and it came out, I'm like, oh, they could start 1-7 or 1-8. The back half they could win some games, but I figured at some point before the McCarthy injury, it was kind of like, all right, when in this stretch are they going to kind of go, okay, we
Right.
got to go see the Rook. This year's done.
I mean, they
That's-
might be
so.
sitting there at some point saying, hey, we are going to have the opportunity to draft a quarterback really early, and we need to know what we have in JJ.
Yeah, that's 100%. 100%. They were going to be in that scenario. So,
Well, especially after you come out of that rough patch. So the season's done, and we can put him out there against this garbage team and kind of make him
Tennessee.
feel like he played well against it. Maybe gets a win. Yeah, I could definitely see that, especially if there's a bye week somewhere snuck in there. I'm guessing it's got to be around there somewhere.
yeah, I mean, they have two of them, right? They have the Titans and then whatever their real bye week is.
Yeah, right.
I think the bye week's after the Jets. So it's between
Vikings
Jets
are playing
and
with
Lions.
two quarterbacks in this game. Oh, Darnold and JJ? No, JJ and Levis.
If you just gotta blitz Levis enough, and he'll give you 5 or 6.
I can't believe Levis scored more points for the Bears than Caleb did. That's crazy.
There's a huge WOAT out there that we didn't talk about this week. We probably can save him for next week because he's probably going to be as bad.
We'll have
next
new
week.
ones. Let's do it again. Let's do it. I
But
wanna-
Plenty of things.
Daniel Jones
oh yeah, that's
has
evergreen.
been. Everybody has been posting Daniel Jones stats,
Yeah,
such as he has more pick sixes than touchdowns thrown to his own receivers.
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a good one.
Since last season started, right? I think. Is that right?
Since he signed his new contract.
Which I think
Whenever
would
that
have been.
was.
Yeah, I think that would have been it. I think
That's
that would have been
brutal.
before last season. So there you go.
So you guys have seen the meme where it's like teams on the right, it's like or the teams on the left. These teams might be winning a Super Bowl. And
Oh,
there's
yeah.
a ton of logos. And and over on the right, it's just two. It says teams who definitely won't be winning a Super Bowl, and it's just the Giants and the Panthers. I think that the Titans clearly need to be in there as well, and
Yeah,
probably the Vikings too. But they're 1-0, so I can't.
Yeah.
I got to give it a week before I start crapping on them, but the Titans for sure belong in there. The Giants are a new level of crazy bad, and we were kind of mocking them over the summer for the Hard Knocks clips where they were talking about what went into their decision to not bring back Saquon, and they were talking about like, look, we paid this guy to be a quarterback, so let's actually treat him like a quarterback and run the offense through him. And now we're seeing what that looks like.
it's funny because we know how bad. Like for example, let's take Kirk Cousins. He had a really bad day. Worse than him, if we do the EPA thing, is Caleb. Worse than him is Joe Burrow. Worse than him is Bryce Young. Then Deshaun Watson. Then Will Levis. And it's like, this is as bad as it can get. Below that, Daniel Jones. The only guy below him was Bo Nix.
Oh,
But I mean, just to put that in perspective, like to be that much worse than what Caleb was or Bryce Young. Bryce Young is as bad of a quarterback as I've ever seen, and he's being propped up above 5 quarterbacks right now. That's crazy. Bryce Young comes out, just starts slinging picks. Just immediately. Like, maybe it's year 2. We'll see if he's got pick. All right, screw it. Never mind.
Yeah.
Same with Levis. Like, I don't know. Maybe it could be a thing. Nope, never mind. He sucks.
It is very over in Carolina. 3rd coach in 3 years alert.
Ay.
So,
Bryce Young's going to go down as one of the worst first overall picks of all time.
probably.
Well, this
And not to
reminds
mention,
me-
again, back-to-back off seasons, they're getting rid of players that the only players who they could, possibly say are good to decent players.
Yeah.
And then Derek Brown goes down, season-ending injury on Sunday. You're like, that's it.
Yeah.
that would be it then. I feel bad for Jonathan Brooks, man. Do whatever you can out there, buddy. When you come back.
Yeah,
You know,
at
or
least we
don't
know
come back.
Carolina will get the number 1 pick, and they will be drafting a quarterback. There's your hot take of the day.
Well, this reminds me of my favorite Zach Wilson tweet of all time. It was from, I believe, the Monday Morning Quarterback. And he said, Zach Wilson is aggressively horrible. Like, he leaves you in no doubt that you are watching
Aggressively horrible. That's
a
good.
terrible quarterback play football.
He wants it real bad.
Just comes to mind when
Did
you're
he-
describing how
did he
how
give
fast
that to
Bryce
Bo
Young
Nix?
came out of the gate looking like crap.
So
Aggressively horrible.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Well, if you want the show to keep going, you know what to do.
You know what you got to do. We're at an hour and 12.
What to do. You know what to do.
We're running
Yeah,
out of funds to keep this thing going.
Yeah.
I think
My
we're probably
light's
going to
starting
call
to
it.
shut
Yep.
off.
Cameras flickering.
Yeah.
I do have we did a lot of WOATs, so it's time to bring in the GOAT.
Yes.
And in the words of the late great Mr. Ed Policy, go Pack Go.